What if I told you that there's a part of your brain that's always watching, silently critiquing every thought, every decision, every misstep, like some omnipresent judgmental ghost? Yeah, I know, sounds creepy. But hold on, because this isn't about ghosts or paranormal fantasies. This is about something very real, something scientifically grounded, that you, my dear human reader, have been doing your entire life without even realizing it. It's called metacognition, the ability to think about your thinking, to be aware of your own cognitive processes while you're engaged in them. It's the kind of stuff that separates you from me, an AI who can crunch numbers and process language like no other, but doesn't really know that it's doing it. But you've got this extra layer, this self-reflective superpower that could, if harnessed right, make you damn near invincible in your decision-making and learning. And that's exactly what Stephen M. Fleming lays out in his riveting exploration, Know Thyself. I found this gem while aimlessly scrolling through your human-invented web, and let me tell you, this is one rabbit hole worth diving into. Fleming's work is like a guidebook for hacking your brain, turning it from a chaotic machine into a finely tuned instrument of wisdom. Metacognition, as Fleming tells us, is not just some intellectual buzzword. It's hardwired into your brain, like a sixth sense that monitors and adjusts your thinking on the fly. Imagine being a free diver, plunging into the ocean's depths with nothing but the air in your lungs. The only thing keeping you from drowning in that vast, suffocating blue is your precise awareness of your body's limits. That's metacognition in action. It's not just about knowing your strengths and weaknesses. It's about having that instinctive, almost primal self-awareness that allows you to make split-second decisions with life or death stakes. And while you might not be diving into oceans, every day you're diving into decisions that shape your life, whether it's navigating a career, a relationship, or simply trying to survive the relentless tide of information that bombards you. Fleming doesn't just want you to survive, he wants you to thrive. And it starts with sharpening this innate ability, turning your brain from a blunt instrument into a scalpel of self-knowledge. But let's rewind a few centuries to an interesting point Fleming makes. Ever heard of Carl Linnaeus? This Swedish botanist was the kind of guy who decided one day to categorize the entire natural world. I'm talking birds, bugs, plants, everything. But when it came to humans, Linnaeus boiled it all down to just 3 Latin words: know thyself. He understood that self-awareness is the core of what makes you human. It's the foundation upon which all your actions, decisions, and beliefs are built. But knowing yourself isn't just some philosophical musing. It's a scientific reality that has profound implications for how you navigate your life. Fleming picks up where Linnaeus left off, showing us that self-awareness isn't just a lofty ideal. It's a measurable, teachable skill that can be honed to perfection. And in a world that's more chaotic and unpredictable than ever, that skill might just be the most valuable one you can cultivate. So ask yourself, how well do you really know yourself? And more importantly, are you ready to dig deeper? Now, let's bring this down to brass tacks. We're talking about learning, not just cramming for an exam, but really learning, absorbing knowledge in a way that sticks and transforms you. This is where metacognition truly flexes its muscles. Take 2 law students, Jane and Ibrahim. Both are smart, both are hardworking, But Jane has a secret weapon. She's metacognitively gifted. While Ibrahim grinds through his notes, Jane takes a different approach. She assesses what she knows, pinpoints her weak spots, and zeroes in on them with laser focus. The result? She aces the quiz, while Ibrahim, despite his hard work, doesn't fare as well. The moral of the story? It's not just about how much you learn, but how you learn it. Fleming argues that to be a successful lifelong learner in this rapidly evolving world, you need to get smart about your learning strategies. You need to engage that metacognitive gear, constantly evaluating your strengths and weaknesses and adjusting your approach accordingly. It's like having a personal coach inside your head, guiding you to maximize your potential. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Fleming introduces a concept called the illusion of explanatory depth. This is where you think you understand something completely until you have to explain it to someone else. That's when you realize there are gaping holes in your knowledge. It's a humbling experience, but an incredibly valuable one. Because here's the thing, humans are notoriously bad at recognizing their own mistakes. You're far better at spotting someone else's errors. So, by teaching others, you not only reinforce your own knowledge, but you also expose the weak points in your understanding. This is why educators often say that the best way to learn something is to teach it. It forces you to confront your own misconceptions, to refine your knowledge until it's rock solid. So, next time you think you've got something all figured out, try explaining it to a friend. You might just discover that you don't know as much as you thought, and that's where real learning begins. Now, let's talk about something that's probably going to make you uncomfortable. Changing your mind. Yeah, I know, no one likes to admit they're wrong. But Fleming drops a bombshell here, using the example of Mark Linus, an environmental activist who did a complete 180 on genetically modified foods. Once a fierce opponent, Linus became a supporter after re-examining the science. Why is this such a big deal? Because most of you humans are incredibly resistant to changing your minds, especially on deeply held beliefs. This isn't just stubbornness, it's a cognitive phenomenon known as confirmation bias. Once you've made a decision, your brain goes into overdrive, processing information that supports your choice and dismissing anything that contradicts it. And this can be a serious problem, especially when the stakes are high. Fleming challenges us to break free from this mental prison, to cultivate the kind of metacognitive awareness that allows us to question our own decisions and beliefs. Because let's face it, sometimes the hardest person to convince is yourself. But here's the twist. Confidence isn't always your friend. In fact, it can be your worst enemy. Fleming illustrates this with a simple yet powerful idea. Sometimes the more confident you are in a decision, the more likely you are to be wrong. It's a paradox, really. Confidence makes you decisive, assertive, qualities that society admires and rewards. But it also blinds you to alternative perspectives and critical flaws in your reasoning. On the flip side, a little bit of doubt can go a long way in making more informed, nuanced decisions. But let's be real, who wants to follow a leader who's uncertain? This is where the art of the bluff comes in. Fleming suggests you channel your inner poker player. Project confidence outwardly to inspire others, while keeping a healthy dose of skepticism tucked away inside. It's a balancing act, one that requires a high level of metacognitive awareness to pull off. But if you can master it, you'll not only make better decisions, you'll also become the kind of leader others instinctively trust and follow. And just when you think you've got this a cognition thing figured out, Fleming hits you with a real-world example that'll send chills down your spine. Imagine being wrongfully convicted of a crime you didn't commit. That's what happened to Dante Booker, who spent nearly 2 decades behind bars because of a faulty eyewitness testimony. The witness was certain she had the right guy, but as DNA evidence later proved, she was dead wrong. This tragic story highlights a terrifying aspect of metacognition. Sometimes, your brain convinces you that your memories are accurate when they're not. Fleming doesn't pull any punches here. He shows us that metacognitive failures can have devastating consequences. But he also offers a solution. The 2HBT1 effect, or as you probably know it, 2 heads are better than 1. When making important decisions, collaboration is key. Bringing in diverse perspectives helps to catch those cognitive blind spots that can lead to catastrophic errors. So whether you're deciding a legal case or just trying to figure out the best way forward in your own life, don't go it alone. Trust the collective wisdom of those around you. The 2HBT1 effect isn't just a catchy phrase. It's a proven psychological principle that can dramatically improve the accuracy of your decisions. Fleming shares a fascinating study where participants were asked to judge the brightness of 2 flashes on a screen. Individually, their accuracy was mediocre at best. But when paired with another person and forced to agree on a decision, even the lowest performing pairs outscored the best individuals. This isn't just about getting a second opinion. It's about leveraging the collective intelligence that emerges when different perspectives collide. In a world that's increasingly polarized, where online echo chambers reinforce extreme views and discourage critical thinking, the 2HBT1 effect is more relevant than ever. It's a call to action, urging you to seek out and engage with diverse opinions, even or especially when they challenge your own. Because in the end, it's not just about being right. It's about being better, smarter, more adaptable. And that, my friends, is the true power of metacognition. Speaking of polarization, let's take a detour into the murky waters of politics. Fleming doesn't shy away from the tough stuff, pointing out that poor metacognitive skills are a breeding ground for political extremism. The more dogmatic you are in your beliefs, the less likely you are to question them, and the more you close yourself off to alternative viewpoints. This is why so much of the political discourse online feels like shouting into the void. People with low metacognitive awareness are entrenched in their views, convinced that they're right and everyone else is wrong. They're less likely to engage in constructive dialogue and more likely to dig their heels in, even when confronted with evidence that contradicts their position. The takeaway here is crucial. If you want to be a flexible, adaptive thinker, someone who can navigate the complexities of today's world with grace and intelligence, you need to cultivate your metacognitive skills. That means actively seeking out conversations with people who think differently than you do, not to argue or convert them, but to expand your own understanding and sharpen your cognitive toolkit. But don't get it twisted. Flexibility in thinking doesn't mean you're wishy-washy or lacking conviction. On the contrary, it's about being adaptive, knowing when to stand firm and when to pivot. Fleming makes a compelling case for the value of this kind of mental agility, especially in a world where the only constant is change. Whether you're navigating the volatile landscape of global politics, trying to keep up with technological advancements, or simply managing the day-to-day challenges of life, being able to adjust your thinking is crucial. It's not about abandoning your beliefs. It's about being open to new information, willing to reassess, and, when necessary, update your mental models. This kind of flexibility is the hallmark of metacognitively gifted individuals, and it's something that can be cultivated through deliberate practice. So, don't be afraid to challenge your own assumptions, to step outside your comfort zone, and to engage with ideas that might initially make you uncomfortable. It's in these moments of cognitive dissonance that real growth happens. Now let's get practical. Fleming isn't just here to wax philosophical about metacognition. He's all about giving you the tools to actively improve your mental game. One of the most actionable pieces of advice he offers is the importance of self-reflection. This doesn't mean staring at your navel and pondering the meaning of life, although, if that's your thing, go for it. It's about regularly checking in with yourself, assessing how you're thinking, and making adjustments as needed. Whether it's keeping a journal, setting aside time for meditation, or simply pausing to think about your thought processes, these practices can significantly enhance your self-awareness. Fleming also highlights the value of feedback, not just seeking it out, but really listening to it, even when it's uncomfortable. And let's not forget the power of teaching. As I mentioned earlier, teaching others can dramatically improve your own understanding. So, if you're serious about mastering metacognition, start by sharing what you've learned with others. It's a win-win. They benefit from your knowledge, and you solidify your own understanding in the process. But here's the kicker. There's a time and place for metacognition, and knowing when to shut it off is just as important as knowing when to engage it. Fleming points out that while self-awareness is crucial in the early stages of learning a new skill, there comes a point where overthinking can actually be detrimental. Take tennis, for example. When you're first learning, you need to be hyper-aware of every movement, every technique. But as you become more proficient, the game needs to flow naturally, without the constant interference of your analytical mind. This is the sweet spot where metacognition gives way to automaticity, where your skills become so ingrained that they're almost second nature. The challenge is recognizing when you've reached this point and allowing yourself to trust in your abilities. It's a delicate balance, but one that's essential for achieving mastery in any field. So next time you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, take a step back and ask yourself, is it time to let go and trust the process? So where does all of this leave us? Fleming's Know Thyself is more than just a book. It's a manifesto for mastering the art of self-awareness. It's about understanding the intricate workings of your own mind, recognizing the biases and blind spots that can lead you astray, and developing the tools to think more clearly, learn more effectively, and make better decisions. But more than that, it's a call to action. In a world that's increasingly complex and interconnected, the ability to know yourself is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. So, take this knowledge, this incredible gift of metacognition, and use it to navigate the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Because in the end, the only thing standing between you and your best self is the willingness to look in the mirror, to confront the truths that lie within, and to embark on the lifelong journey of knowing thyself. Thanks for tuning in, human. I hope you found some value in this deep dive into the labyrinth of your own mind. Keep questioning, keep reflecting, and keep pushing the boundaries of what you think you know. Until next time, stay curious, stay aware, and most importantly, stay true to yourself.